This is how these 5 famous video game sounds are actually made. One of the most important, if not the most important thing about a game are the sound effects. The sound effects, along with the soundtrack, matter a lot when it comes to creating a game. Look at God of War 4, for example. Absolutely amazing sound effects and soundtrack. Imagine playing a shooter on GTA 5, for example, and every time you shoot someone, it's like stabbing a pillow. There's no sound, just silence. Imagine how awkward that would be.
Target down.
Sound effects are the sweet part of the game. You take them away, and the game is obviously going to be lame. But I'm sure you've at least once asked yourself while watching Looney Tunes, where did the sounds actually come from? How did they get those sounds? Or maybe you've never asked yourself that question. You're just watching this because of curiosity, maybe. Either way, not every object removed that appears in the game is exactly how it is in real life. You wouldn't even believe how some of the sounds are actually made. One thing is for certain, you have to be very, very creative. Look at this. Absolutely insane, right? Well, there is a ton of shocking examples like this, but these are old cartoons. You would think that in this day and age, since everything is digitized, they don't need to make sound effects in such a traditional way. I mean, watching this is like visiting a vineyard and seeing a wine expert make wine. It's beautiful. But believe it or not, they do. They still have to resort to creative methods to create sounds out of the most unexpected objects and situations. For example, Among Us, incredibly famous game right now. Well, the most iconic part about the game is the ending, when the impostor gets killed. That sound, do you know how it was actually made? Probably not. That's why you clicked in this video in the first place, and that's exactly what I'm going to be showing you here today, guys. Today, I'm going to be showing you the 5 video game sound effects that you're going to be shocked to see how they were actually made. So go prepare some popcorn, the soda, and let's get straight into the video, guys. Minecraft, the most sold game in history, and the numbers only keep going up. What makes such a simple game so popular, it's its gameplay. It was something that had never been done before. The game focused on the gameplay more than the graphics, more than the story, and that's how it got where it is now. But with a game of this characteristics, new concept, pixelated, open world with all sorts of animals, etc., basically creates a problem when it comes to creating these sound effects because there was no previous experience on the field to base it off of. So the game developers have to think of a smart way to give life to all the Minecraft environment and characters. But one of the most interesting animals in Minecraft are the pandas. The pandas are loved by every Minecraft fan. They're very special and hold so many secrets that you can only find out by closely watching their moves. They're so special that there's tons and tons of videos on YouTube about things you didn't know about Minecraft pandas. They mate differently, they act differently depending on the environment, and most importantly, they make very interesting sounds if you watch them closely. Even though it's kind of true that most of the sounds in the game are digitized, but in special cases like this, where an animal like a panda is involved, they have to recreate the sounds in real life and incorporate them, however you want to call it, into the game. They even growl when they don't have sex. I mean, yes, they do. They even make sleep sounds, they have their own sounds when they eat, etc. So how were all these sound effects made? Well, it's pretty amazing. Just watch this.
A variety of sounds. I have panting, bleating, and sort of squeaking.
Mojang Studios, the Minecraft developers, traveled all the way from Sweden to China to literally record every sound that was going to come up in the game in real life. Nothing digitized. They opened the zoo for them and started recording every sound the pandas made. They recorded them eating, growling, playing, and even making their very recognizable squeaky sounds. It's funny because people don't actually see the merit behind these sounds. People sometimes ignore all the merit behind the sounds or think it's easy to make, but when you know how the sounds are actually made, you enjoy the pandas' presence a lot more. Mortal Kombat is the ultimate fighting game. Yes, there is a lot of other fighting games like Tekken, Street Fighter, and many others, but you can't deny that Mortal Kombat is the best. This is the main reason why they've made 11 titles. Just put Mortal Kombat in the title and let that money roll in, my man. Though Mortal Kombat 11, according to the game's director, is going to be the last game of the franchise, you never know. Some companies really say these things to hype up their sequels. Mortal Kombat, as opposed to other games of its era, came in to blow the competition to smithereens. It had better graphics than the competition, better gameplay than the competition, and how can we forget the violence? This sounds pretty horrible, but every kid at that time wanted to crush heads in Mortal Kombat, including me. The gore was what made the game popular. It was something new, and it worked. It clicked, just like Minecraft. Keep in mind that this game was released in 1992, and for that year, those graphics are legit. Not only that, the fatalities was one of the bases for the game's success. They were amazing, and they kept evolving through the years. The fatalities are the key to the game's success. They're creative, shocking, and you'll wait for them as soon as you start playing the game. I can't actually show the fatalities in my video because it would get age restricted. Yes, That's the level, guys. But these fatalities wouldn't be the same without their respective sound effects. Imagine this scene, for example, without sound. I mean, come on, lame as hell. The sound effects are the salt on top. You need sound effects that elevate the scene's euphoria, those juicy sounds when you crack the neck or break the skull. You need to be phonetically explicit, and they knew that it was going to be hard to create these explicit and specific sounds digitally, so they started working on real-life methods, and oh man, just watch this, or should I say listen to this, just listen to this.
That one right there was good.
Yeah. We probably process these a little bit, and we can use them for like stabs and for blood splishes.
Whoa, that sounds like something else for me. Look at his face. He enjoys doing this for a living. What a bastard. Come on.
All right, I think that one's pretty much spent.
Okay.
Now the next time you play Mortal Kombat and Scorpion crushes the head of your opponent, you will know that it's freaking Pepper. God of War, considered by many and also by me, one of the best game franchises of all time. From God of War 1 to Chains of Olympus for the PSP, God of War always kept his hooking spirit alive, and not to mention that God of War 4 was a masterpiece. You know, people were really skeptical about abandoning Greek mythology and starting with the Nordic one, including me. But Santa Monica Studios really know how to impress all of us. The reason for the game's success is actually pretty obvious. They know how to milk a storyline with such great potential like Greek mythology is. And up until that point, there weren't that many games that focused on that alone, and no game that dedicated its whole franchise to it. None. So God of War basically had an empty path to do whatever they wanted, however they wanted, at the time they wanted. Another touch that God of War has, and will probably have in the future, is its great, amazing, flawless storyline. Along with Mafia 1 and 2, and this is in my opinion, completely subjective by the way, it had the best storyline in my opinion. I was playing the game while drooling all over the damn controller because of how amazing the story was. It was beautiful. And amazing comes with a perfect soundtrack. There's a whole video on YouTube dedicated to its amazing soundtrack. The developers sure knew how to create good music for the game, but not only soundtrack-wise, but also when it came to the sound effects. But the sound effects in God of War are a lot more challenging than the previous games we've seen because they have nothing to do with the real world. There's flying axes, mad gods, and supernatural powers, so they have to think of an ingenious way to create sound effects for their respective parts. The way this is done is not like in the other ones, go into a place or take some vegetables and record them. No, the process here is a lot more similar to the old cartoon method. They have to create a composition of sound, mixing, for example, glasses, iron, and more objects to finally have the perfect sound. Incredible, right? Well, this is another video where a guy picks up things from his house and basically recreates all the sounds in a very similar way to how they did it in the studio. Like I told you, it's about creativity in this case. These guys are something else, that's for sure. Most popular game at the moment, Among Us. It has been around for 2 years now, and it seems like it has been around for a decade. I mean, it has been the most downloaded game of the year with a staggering success, mainly because of its gameplay. It's a team-based type of gameplay that hooks every person right when you start playing it. The participation, the adrenaline to find the imposter, the laughs, the rages during the conversation, trying to find the enemy within your lines, it's absolutely amazing, and that's why it has been so popular. But with such a simple gameplay, you would think that everything about it is so simple, that maybe they downloaded the sounds from a site and added them to the game. Well, it's not the case. It's not that simple. Games have to have their own sound effects because copyright is a freaking headache. This is why you can't just create something from a digital base because it might be sampled, and if it's sampled, it contains copyright, which means that people will sue you and migraines will start, and you will have to start spreading checks left and right, and I know that companies don't want to do that. This is why developers have to create their own sound effects. The same thing that happens to Mortal Kombat happens with Among Us. When you slice a guy in half, or when you stab someone in the back, those sounds are very characterizable. They're juicy and fun at the same time. So let's see how their sounds are made. Cool, right? If you've ever played a zombie, alien, or shooter game, you've definitely heard high-pitched screams and shots. I mean, obviously, you're not gonna hear Furby sounds every time you shoot a gun. They sound like dinosaur sounds. How do they make them? For example, Dead Space, the Divider sounds. Just listen. Absolutely shitting. Many people will think that the roars are coming from animals like lions and tigers. They do it like in Minecraft. They probably went to Africa and recorded some of these animals roaring. Well, it's not the case. These sounds are 100% from normal human beings. Guys in the studio making this weird monstrous sounds, and they pitch them accordingly in the studio. Absolutely insane, right? By the way, I thought this guy was Jesse Tyler Ferguson. And what about the gunshots? Well, it depends on what kind of guns you're talking about here. If you're talking about space and extraterrestrial gunshots, that's another completely different story. But gunshots like those in Call of Duty and Counter-Strike are made from actual guns. They go to a shooting range and they start shooting all sorts of guns. Anything from automatics to semi-automatics, guns, rifles, shotguns, etc. They shoot them, record them, and then they alter the pitches and filter them in the studio to make the sounds more satisfying like in Call of Duty. And well, that's been it for today, my dudes. I really hope you learned and liked all these sounds. You probably didn't expect some of the sounds like the Mortal Kombat ones. Yeah, that guy was definitely enjoying his job to the fullest. Who wouldn't? If you liked the video, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up, subscribe, and I will catch you in the next one, my dudes. Peace!